Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. I shall see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, as we'll be relaxing as per usual. What am I going to say? I think we've done all the review like things to talk about. We talked about Nine Souls, talked about Obsession. We're nearly at the end of the Japan trip, to be honest. I'm recording a bit later than usual. Like I wanted to record earlier. The thing is, I almost certainly have some sort of intolerance to something which is not lactose, and my stomach hurts at the moment. But good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 10:12 p.m. on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. I don't know what it is, to be honest. I have a feeling, but I spoke about this before, that pita bread was one of the things which does upset my stomach, and confirmed, definitely, almost certainly it's pita bread. But also, I had, it's some sort of something to do with bread, certainly. I had a bagel today, also, and now my stomach hurts a lot. And also, I had, even weirdly, these like vegan oatmeal flapjack sort of bites, which I was like, you know, I'll have these because they're most likely to not have many sort of allergens in or anything. But that has also upset my stomach. So now it's sort of like a double dish right now where I'm just like, okay, I'm dying. No, actually, you're meringue, by the way. But it is sort of just like, okay, well, it's not the most comfortable feeling in the world, shall we say. But anyway, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about, it's, Francine? Yes. I can't remember what your sister's called, like Dottie or something. That doesn't sound right in my head. Slowly and surely, every single villager. Okay, so how much of a Japan trip is left? What did I even talk about last? I think the matcha talk, right? Which I don't really have much to say on, unfortunately. It was very interesting and informative, but a lot of it's kind of like experience of actually tasting it yourself. So if you're not there to actually taste it, then what more can you say? What more can I say? So what was like, oh yes, we did this thing. And then we did that. So it's only really like 2 more, maybe 3 more conversations of which to have, to be honest. So I can't remember what this is called, but we did another workshop. This is like the last workshop we did, which was basically around indigo dyeing. But I don't know. Is it just called indigo dye? Like I don't know what the actual practice is called. There must be a tarantula over there or something, with the amount of times that people have been shocked. Japan blue? What's it called? Indigo dyeing? Aizome. It's a Japanese word for indigo dye. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, that's basically what we did. We had an experience where we did a workshop where we got to do some indigo dyeing. So what does that entail? It was after our matcha tour, and then we took a trip back a little bit late to the workshop, but very, very kind of let us continue because it was sort of like an open workshop thing. But the general idea is like we all got something. I mean, you could draw a pattern on it, and then using wax, and then when you dye it with indigo, the wax prevents the indigo dye from sticking in it, so whatever's left over is like a white. It almost looks like white ink, but it's not. It's kind of like you're doing the inverse. So it was pretty cool, to be honest. There's an old lady who's been doing it for ages, who helped us, and a guy who was doing a lot of the dyeing process. We didn't actually get to do much of the dyeing ourselves, except for sort of just existing. But yeah, we all had different things. We had one of those like desks where you put the lights on underneath to be able to shine it through and actually see what's going on. But yeah, we all did different things. Well, actually, one of us did a t-shirt, 3 of us did a large tote bag, I believe. Or maybe we did small tote bags. I can't remember. Either way, 3 of us did tote bags. I was of course always going to do a tote bag. I love tote bags. I have so many different tote bags. I always like rotate between them whenever I go out and stuff. But still. another one to add to my collection is always a nice time. But yes, so what sort of patterns did we do? Well, I can't remember exactly, and I can't see the photos of exactly what all my friends did. One of them definitely did like a snake, and I can't remember what was on the other side of it. One did something like owls. Oh, and it said Kyoto. Oh, here we go. Another friend did a Pegasus and had some balls and flowers on the other side. What I did was a fox leaping upwards with some bamboo. I mean, I was going to do moon and clouds, but then I was way overcomplicating it, so I did fireflies instead. I mean, on the back I didn't really do anything, I just did a very, like, tiny firefly. But it was an interesting process, because you basically have this, like, hot melting pot of wax in the middle. Is the scorpion still there? It is still there. I feel like I should just get rid of the fleas on you, Lily, first. And you have, like, basically a big sort of, like, brush, a calligraphy, like, brush. And you actually had to sort of paint quite hard onto the material. You had to paint like quite a lot, because whatever you paint is wherever the white will be after the indigo dye, because it'll be wherever indigo dye does not stick to. But if you don't paint hard enough and you only do it like on a surface level, then it's not actually going to seep on through, and it's going to still dye on the other side anyway. So that's something which I had to learn, because while I was doing it, very much so it would have soaked through. No, it did not soak through, sorry, so it wouldn't have actually stuck on dye. So the person, or the people came around and was like, hey, you should probably go over it again. And that was the thing, it's like you could go over it once and it will give a sort of like semi-translucent vibe to the dye, and if you go over it twice, it's basically that's like a solid white colour. So it's quite a therapeutic sort of process, I would say. I mean, it's basically kind of just like painting, really. But it gives such an interesting texture to the end of it, which really makes it quite fascinating, I think. But yeah, but otherwise it's just kind of like painting, to be honest. You're just painting with wax on cloth, which is certainly a more unusual medium, I would say. Not that I do a lot of painting in the first place, and by a lot of painting I mean like I barely do any painting in the first place, so I think it's probably not something that's for me to judge. But it kind of, I said, felt like doing calligraphy, which is not something I have that much experience of, but I'd done a tiny bit when I was younger. But it was a pretty cool experience. You know, very therapeutic painting. It took forever. Like, it took me so long to do this drawing on one side, which is why I didn't have time to do anything on the other side. I was considering doing something flowery on the other side, but I was like, no, there's no point. We'll just keep it simple. Which also is fine by me, because a lot of the time I like the design facing outwards. It doesn't matter what's on the back. I just had a little detail of fireflies on the back. But it was also pretty cool. Because the dyeing process itself was really nice. I can't remember a lot of it, but I remember just sort of like him taking our stuff and then like putting it in like this big vat of just blue is what I'd say, and then once it's done that, it's like sort of like washing it off. I remember we were standing around like this big sort of bath of indigo dye and like poking the things with a stick, and it was like dredging things up from it, and I can't even remember what we did now. We dredged things up, and then what was it, to like stretch it or shake it out? I genuinely can't remember anymore. The exact process. But there was a lot of like remnants from it. Like, there was a lot of dye from it. Like, I remember he wasn't also wearing gloves a lot of times, but you could see like the dark blue tinge that was left on his arms after doing the dyeing process, which was fascinating, I think, to say, because I would be like, I don't know what's in the indigo dye, but certainly I feel like you would be wearing gloves for it to prevent it dyeing your skin. But I guess I got the Wikipedia page open, so let's see. But it gives such a rich, sort of brilliant dark blue colour. Oh, it's are you Tad or you Wart Junior or something like that? I think you're a throwback. You're just someone completely different from who I thought. Yeah, it gives such a rich, sort of brilliant, deep blue colour, which is really, really like pretty, to be honest. So I very much like it as an accessory, but it had like a lot of different like patterns and things hung out around the workshop, which is really pretty. But yeah, I mean, like, I think if you know the process of tie dyeing, it's kind of like that, except for you're not tying. I suppose you're painting on the wax. But I don't see why. I've googled it, and like a lot of it is sort of like tie-dye stuff, so certainly not surprised there. But yeah, but they had lots of different like cloths and designs and things about the place to sort of show off the indigo dye products that they have. Because there are a lot of other people there. I remember some people were doing like these big sort of like curtain like banners sort of things. I'm not sure where exactly you hang up, but I guess it would be like a tapestry, something you could just sort of put on the wall. Most commonly associated with product of denim cloth and blue jeans. Well, there you go. So I guess, yeah, you can dye your jeans. I didn't really think about that at the time, but sure. Aizome. I wonder how that works, translation-wise. Anyway, not a point. So yeah, honestly, it was a super pretty stuff. It was way more time-consuming than expected. Very fascinating to watch the process. It basically kind of looked like manually doing laundry, you know, sort of like boiling something in a pot. Well, no, it was soaking in the dye first, in the big vat of dye for ages, and then boiling it in a pot to get all the wax off, and then basically just rinsing it over and over and over again, because if you don't do that, then a lot of the dye will sort of come off whenever you use it, right? Or especially if you wash it or whatever. But I remember it was like super wet when we brought it back, and we just let it dry in the place we were staying at, which, to be fair, it was kind of our fault that it was so wet, is because we were quite delayed getting there. But it was a really fun experience, I think. It's a nice sort of therapeutic workshop to sort of round things off. I don't really have much else to say about it, so maybe I will just talk about the next conversation, because the next conversation's also not got too much to say. It was our final sort of like very fancy meal at the end of a holiday. We like to have one sort of big holiday meal, sort of celebrate every holiday with this group. And this one we had Shabu Shabu. It was pretty cool. We had like a set menu which we had to order beforehand with certain needs. What do I think about Shabu Shabu? I quite like Shabu Shabu. It's like hot pot. I like these meals, either the hot pot like meal or the Korean barbecue style meal, teppanyaki, etc. The things where you do it yourself, because I don't know, I found it a lot more fun, to be honest, to cook these things yourself. But it was a pretty cool hot pot. It was a very interesting one as well, because it wasn't like a hot pot that I've seen before, like a bain-marie. It was like they had like a wooden wicker basket or something, I remember, and then like a bowl in the middle, and then it had like a hot plate at the bottom, and it was on an induction stove where everything was cooked in. That's what I recall. And then we cooked some shabu shabu meat. How was it? It was delicious. We had some other stuff as well. We had like some bamboo shoots as well, which I think bamboo shoots are very delicious as well. I think that was the first time a lot of friends had tried bamboo shoots as well. But I don't know, like, I can't remember what else. Like, we had some like fancy sake, I remember as well, which was like in a bamboo shoot or something. And it was just a genuinely nice meal to sort of like round everything off. And then at that point we went home the next day, and well, not all of us, 3 of us went home the next day. Nice sort of early morning train back to Tokyo. Our luggage always already forwarded onwards. And yeah, we basically just flew home with everything there. And I guess we'll have a sort of short snippet of packing everything. Again, I can't believe I managed to fit everything in the suitcase. Again, way over weight limit. So thanks to my friend who was there, who had swapped heavy things with her light things. And I'm so impressed with myself with my packing efficiency there. But yeah, I think the trip back was rather uneventful. I think the most notable thing is we went back, but we had a layover in Hong Kong, but it was a really long, it was an overnight layover, which was definitely, I would say, quite a draining one. Is of emotion, like, I've done quite a few sort of like overnight layovers before, so it's not the worst. I can kind of sleep anywhere. This one place kind of, I would say the Hong Kong airport, like the places we were at, all the benches and stuff were quite hard. So it wasn't the most comfortable sleep. I was saying, you might be like, why didn't you go to an airport lounge? Well, we probably should have. Would it have been worth it just to go to those like sleeping pods? Maybe. But I also thought it was fine. I don't really remember much else of what happened at the airport, to be honest. I watched a dropout video don't remember which one, to be honest. I think it was part of Game Changers, so I think it must have been the new season. Don't Wake Stands and Practice. I think that just came out, so that's how cool. And yeah, it was a wonderful trip. And then one of the things I did when I came back, because thankfully it was a bank holiday, so we had like a day to decompress in the UK. But I think so, at least. Yeah, it must have been. I took a picture of everything I had and laid it all out, and I will say some of the stuff I have laid out is still kind of there. I haven't managed to put everything else away because there's a lot of things which I don't have space for, but I managed to pack most things away now. In this little photo, I think the main thing is there's a lot of plushies still, which I'm like, I don't really have a place to put them. I put as many I reorganized things to try and put more plushies in, and I've got even more plushies still because I got all my Digital Circus plushies. What am I gonna do? I don't know. But I'm at, I think, around this episode of here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I mean, well, I was to say, that's a Japan trip. What a wonderful time. Thank you to all my friends for making it such a wonderful experience. I love going to Japan as a holiday. Would I go again? Absolutely. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. Until next time. Bye-bye for now.